Hello, so now I will see if I can manage to make a liquidity or cash flow budget for the Falck exam case here. So we start with the Falck logo. Get away. Yeah, there we are. This is the assignment, and I will scroll down here. There's a lot of information. So we have the exam questions here, and this actually goes about number 2, liquidity budget for this year 2013 on the indirect method, also called shifting asset methods. I will not deal in this small video with a macroeconomic question that comes later. So it's only question 2 basically. So this comes with an enclosure number 1. So let me just look for enclosure number 1. Oops, comes here. So this is basically financial data, financial data concerning the budget year. We have profit and loss here, and we have balance, and we see they provide us both with a balance at the beginning and the ending of 2013. So we have the different numbers here. Good. And the first step I have done is to pass this data into Excel, and I have done that preparing for this video, so I hope that comes, I think, yes, it comes here. Okay, so here we have the different data passed into Excel, and next step, well, another possible step is to take a look. Let me just see. So I will put this one over here. This is basically some of the slides we've been working with, and if I just get to the right one here. Whoop. Oh, it starts on another screen. I didn't think about that for the video. Okay, I'll just double click it. So yeah, so oh, there's an error here actually. This doesn't regard this video. Okay, indirect method, asset shift method, chain amount of the totals. Let's just see what happens on the next few slides. We have different, it actually becomes more clear in the graphical display, so I'll go on to that, but this is some of the main categories of liquidity movements. This one here, so basically it's about finding operating margin or some similar measure of profit before interest. Then what we have been exercising in class, changes in stock or inventories, changes in debtors or receivables, changes in creditors or trade payables, and depending on the model you use, maybe you can have change in other current assets or change in other debtors here, or you might not have it, you might put it further down, and the same one goes for this one. You will get cash from operation, and that's the beginning of it. If you look through, this is a whole picture. Here we have the liquidity budget, but it's hard to read. This one is actually improved here, and this is the liquidity budget. So this is similar to what we just saw in the other on the other slide, but then we have to consider investments. We have to consider, here they call it funding payments. We could also call it financial payments, the money flowing between us and the bank. Income related payment, that would be tax and dividend payments. Okay, liquidity at the beginning of the year. Sorry, liquidity at the beginning of the year here. The impact here, the change here, and then how much do we end up with. So, well, that's basically my inspiration for the Excel model is more or less from these. There can be small fluctuations in the names and the structures depending on the book, but this is basically what I will now do in Excel. So I get rid of this one. Whoop. And in order not to make the video too long, I have cheated a little bit. So if I go in here, I will show it. I more or less drew up all the text, and let us now see how we add some numbers to this. Oh, there's actually a small mistake here, but that's not opening. margin. Okay, so first thing, oh, it's not opening, it's operating margin. Operating margin. Well, if we look to the data here, actually they don't use that word, but you should be aware from the classes that we would use a measure of profit that is before we take out depreciations. So in this case they call that profit from operations instead of operating margin, or instead of EBITDA they could also call it. So we sort of repeat that number. Boom, boom. And inventories or stocks, let's just see here. Yes. Okay, well, the beginning values, you have been training inventories, yeah. Inventories are here. They are actually very small in this company. It's a service company, they hardly have any. The debitors, trade receivables they call them here, are so much. The trade creditors, we have to look for them further down. Trade payables they call it here. And we have other short-term debt I have included here. Short-term debt. Some books might include it down here, but I stick to the idea of having it here. That's also more similar to the PowerPoint. Well, then what has been very challenging in class have been to find the ending values, and there's a number of ways to do this. In this regard, this video here, this exam assignment is actually, I must say, it's not so difficult. They're very friendly to you, actually provide you with a balance also for the end of the budget year. So in the same way we copied the beginning balances, we can also copy the ending balances. So we do that. Inventories, they are still at 6. Maybe I just copy all of them and then I make the calculation comments later. Trade receivables, they are at this level. Trade creditors, where are trade creditors? Trade payables down here, and we needed the last year. Yes. Oh, something is. No, it's okay. Other creditors are short-term down here. Okay, and then comes the challenge we've had in class. The things we can observe here. Are they good or bad for the? Are they plus or minus to the liquidity? Inventories, well, this is basically they are unchanged, so it's a 0. But we could say basically that an increase is bad if we had one. So I would make the formula by saying the ending. No, I'll do the other way around. Beginning minus ending. I hope that's right. Would give 0 in any case. What we have trained in class is that for the trade debitors, it will behave in the same way, so we can copy down this formula. Yeah. So here we had a fall. That trade debitors fell, and that's actually good for the liquidity. They don't have to finance this money to offer credit to the customers. Yes, trade creditors. And this is where it very often goes wrong for the students. This is not similar to the 2 previous ones. This is the other way around. We could take, let's see here, ending minus beginning gives minus 2. If we owe 2 million less to our suppliers by the end of the year, that will be a minus to our liquidity. We will have to find that financing in another way. These 2 ones, they're actually both about creditors, so they would behave in the same way. And I could copy that here. Let me give me a little graphical problem. Up. So we get down to here, and now we need to make the first subtotal of everything that comes up here. So I will do like this, and I will, let's just see here, sum. Okay, then we have investment. Actually, in this case, they're negative. This was probably one of the most challenging, a little bit unusual things in this exercise and this assignment, because it's negative. How could we find out? It doesn't tell us anything about the investment, so we have to derive them. How can I show that down here? If I have investments are related to the fixed assets at the beginning of the year, and if we just take that, fixed asset at the beginning of the year is so much, plus investments that we don't know about. So we take a total of this. Basically, we add these two together. We get a total, and then we would say minus depreciations. Depreciation, we have them up there. That's 38 million. 38. And then we would have fixed assets at the end of the budget year. And actually they tell us how much that is. So they're up here. So much. Okay. So whatever we have up here, if we take away 38, we should be left with so many. So we can also go the other way and say this one plus 38 gives us so much. And the investments in that case, well, that would be this. Is that right? We'll find out. Plus, no, that's not right, because if we add that together we don't get to 711. So I just try it again. No, this is absolutely not right. So I would take what am I doing here? So this is investments, depreciations, actually 38. Yes. I would have to take this one minus that one, wouldn't I? So minus 38, yes. It's just coincidence, it's 38, the same number two times here. What do we see? We see the investments actually a negative amount. Can that happen? Yes, they can have sold old equipment. So if they had so much value of equipment at the beginning of the year, they could have possibly bought nothing new and sold this, or at least this is a net number. So we don't know if they bought something or sold something, but if they only sold something, they would have sold for this value, so their fixed assets have fallen so much. If they sell, they have a negative investment, that would actually become a plus for the liquidity side. They get money for all this old equipment that they sell. So we have to change the change the sign here. That'll be 38. I would say that's a tricky one. That's probably one of the most challenging parts in this assignment. Okay, then we go to financial payments. Do we repay money on long-term debt? We have to look long-term debt. Yes, it actually goes down. So we will have. Now I just have to think about. Well, I can do this in different ways. I could say how much it goes down by so much. So we're actually repaying so much to the bank, but the sign is not right, because this is how much we repay to the bank, but the effect on liquidity is the other way around. Whoop. There we are. Additional bank loans. Do we get more loans from the bank? Yes, there were 8 and then were 60, so they have gone up. So we did get more here. And we could say how much did we have here and how much did we already have. We additionally got 52. Financial expenses, some other books or exercises would call it interest. Here they use the word financial expenses. So that's a minus. We pay, to put it more plain, we pay 27 million as interest. Gives us a minus. Then there's income tax. Do we pay income? Is income tax here? This says 18 million. Then the good question will be, is this paid in the same year or is it paid in the next year? At least we do not. It could of course be in some of the other short-term debt, but normally it would be stated separate if we are owing taxes down here on the short-term debt, and it's not so. But let's assume for now that we are paying in the same year. So we are paying 18 millions of tax. And then dividend. There's no information about dividend in this exercise. So how can we make a conclusion? Well, that's one of the more tricky things together with the investments. But you had profit of the year after tax 44 million, and generally net profit could be used to pay dividend, or it could be left in the company. And if it's left in the company, it would go into what we call retained earnings. And if I look down here, retained earnings actually go up by precisely 44 million. So it seems that all the profit that's earned stays in the company as retained earnings, and therefore dividend will be 0. So I just put a 0. No, I think I just leave it. I made the comment here already. So we assume for this reason that dividend is 0. These reasons that dividend is 0. So we have here the combined effect of all of this. We must remember this is already a sum up here. So we start from that like intermediary result and we go down here. Yep. Again it's a sum. It's now minus 18. I think something is wrong. What is wrong? Here. Total liquidity is minus 18. 78 and then yeah, something wrong with my Excel formula. I don't know what happened here. Let me just try again. But it doesn't really like the way I do this, so I can no, come on. I can adjust this manually. Now it looks better. I could actually take it all the way down there. So I get a minus of 36 million. How much liquidity did they have at the beginning of the year? Well, we could look here. That'll be cash, or they call it cash. It's not literally cash, but it's also money in the bank. Liquidity. That would have maybe been a better word. So I didn't make the assignment, I must say. So cash is 150 starting the year, and at the end of the year we have this one. What did we start with? Plus what change did we have? There's a negative number in this case. We end up with 114 million. And the 114 million, you can see there actually here is cash ending the budget year. So that seems to be a confirmation that we did things right. So yeah, that's basically the solution for this. Oh, should I just do to this one? It's like a note I've made here. Should I make it? I call it note. So it's again, it's used to make basically to find this number. Should we put an arrow as well? We can make one from here. I'll try again. Come on, up there. Yeah. So that sort of concludes my little video here. So bye for now. Thank you for watching. In the exercise assignment, of course, you will be expected to comment on this as well, but here I just showed the calculations. Should I comment anyway? Well, cash from operations was positive. We see that the big change here was other short-term creditors, that went down. So that sort of eats half of the operating margin. So they left us 70 millions. Investment here is highly unusual, it's negative. They have the different financial payments here, make substantial repayment of long-term debt. Income tax, yes, no dividend. They have a negative effect on liquidity, so they sort of loses 1/4 of the liquidity they had at the beginning of the year with 150 million. So that would be some of the comments. So now I'll end this video in earnest, in serious.